Hey, good morning. This is Ken Spahn from Coach's Mastery, Master Coach, and today's tip is about young conversations. So, in other words, or actually the distinction between an adult conversation and a young conversation. So, I just want to share a little bit about, what that looks like for me. I can remember growing up, my parents used to yell a lot, and you know, the it was fairly effective. But looking back, if there's different ways of uh, doing that, and I'm going to share those with you. But if I look, when I was married, I thought that was the way things were done. You yell at people, and then they take action, and you get a certain amount of result in those actions. What I wasn't seeing is what that was costing me. It was costing me my love for my family and affinity, that they could not be themselves. It was like they had to walk on eggshells just to make sure I didn't get upset and I didn't yell at them. So, they just couldn't be their fullest expression of themselves around me. But I noticed, looking back, that when I wasn't there, or they thought I wasn't there, they really enjoyed themselves and were able to be the fullest expression of themselves. So, that's what it was costing me, and that was a young conversation. I never grew out of that. And looking, because I inherited that from my parents, so I thought that was the way it was supposed to be done. And we could look at this like in a workplace. So a boss may say something like, "Hey, can you create this report?" And the employee says, "Well, it's not my job, and I don't want to." And the boss would say, "Well, I'm your boss, and I said to do this." So there's no like discovery there. It's all a reaction-based conversation. So if I go on, about other things, places to look in young conversations and where they usually show up is when you're angry, you're upset, withdrawn, calling people names. It's all a young conversation. It doesn't have any responsibility for what's coming out of your mouth. You just say it because that's how you're feeling at the moment, and there's just no accountability there. So a young conversation comes from something that's missing, a lack or love in the current situation, where you think it should be a certain way. In other words, because it looked that way in the past, so it should look that way in the future, which I guess would make sense logically, but that's not how it works. So, to have an adult conversation, firstly, is to be 100% responsible for what comes out of your mouth. And, if you look at bigger companies, the way it used to be, and it's shifting, but it used to be my way or the highway. So if you didn't do exactly what the company wanted, chances are you wouldn't be working there for very long. So that's no longer that model. I mean, it still exists today, but it's gradually shifting to, okay, let's create something newly, so we can, further this company and grow and expand. So an adult conversation are childlike in a way that there's just no attachment to it. Okay, so you might be you might take a stand, or you might say, I'm committed to this. I'm committed to this outcome, but I'm not attached to it, which is completely different. So, and the other thing is about survival. Like, if this doesn't happen, I'm going to die, I guess. It's pretty extreme, but it's just one way to look at it. So if we go back to the boss and employee conversation, what that might look like as an adult conversation is the boss would say, I know it's not your job, but it'd be really great if you could create next week's report. And the employee said, sure. Well, when do you need that by? When do you need that done? Like, and the boss says, well, by the end of the day, does that work for you? So there's a newly created conversation rather than a default response conversation. So I hope that makes some sense. And if you can see, you know, in your own life, you know, I actually didn't really get this until I was about 45. So it's never too late, you know. And the other thing you want to look at is, where does this show up in your life? For me, it always showed up in relationships, and because I was trying to protect myself, you know. So you want to really dive deep into why am I saying what I'm saying? Is that a reaction, which would be based on some young conversation that I've carried around for my whole life, or am I actually creating something with this person in this relationship? So that's it for this week, and stay tuned, you know, for next week's tip. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can subscribe to my channel so you make sure you get the updates every week. If it's on Facebook or, you know, wherever you see it, just subscribe, and we'll look forward to the next one. All right, peace out.